Hey guys, Brett here again. Going to go over some tips and tricks that are a little bit more advanced, as well as going over the alignment table that you might need. The one in the second video isn't quite the same that Paul is looking for. So what I'm going to do is kind of show you a little bit more complicated way to edit that. And then I'll show you maybe a different method that might be a bit easier for you. So you can see that the table that we did has these codes, and they're called like L1, C1, L2, C2. And what Paul is looking for is something like this. Do I have it copied? I do. Okay, good. So he wants beginning a project. I think you, I think that's beginning a curve or something like that. Whatever they stand for. Like the beginning of the curve, end of curve, I think, with the stationing as well. So yeah, I think BC, EC, that's beginning curve, end curve. I think they mean the same thing. However, this table, as well as the deflection angle, he actually doesn't ask for that, but I mean, I think adding that is probably pretty good, don't you? Um, so what I'm going to show you is how to kind of manipulate this so that it updates not only automatically but uh, properly. So without further ado, let's get into her. Delete your old segments that you don't need. We are going to, yeah, probably better to just delete them. So do that. Okay, I'm going to expand this open a little bit here. All right, up in the top left, under the Annotate labels, we are going to go to Alignment. We are going to go to Single Segment, and we are going to copy the current selection of the HRM bearing over distance. And we're going to call this BOP. And we're going to change this area where it says Contents, expand it open, hit those three dots, and it will open up the new window. You can't see the text, but there it is there. So this just kind of populates your table with that code. It's got like L, and then it'll just go up from 1, 2, 3, etc. But we don't want that. We want it to just be called BOP. There it is there. I know the text is dark, but what can you do? So hit OK, hit OK. Great. Now we have a new label. Let's label our beginning of project tangent, which is that guy. Okay, good. It showed up. Oops, I didn't want to close that out. Same area. And we're going to make another one. Okay. This one's going to be called EOP. Same idea. Go to your layout, go to your contents, hit that. Change BOP to now EOP. Hit OK. Hit OK. But we're not going to add this up at the top here. What is going on? Okay, that was weird. But we're not going to add it yet. We're going to wait, and you might see why in a sec. Okay, so now we're going to kind of do something similar with the curve label, and we're going to copy the current selection. We're going to call this maybe PVI. Go to your layout. Instead of that C, you see how there's a C. We're going to change that to maybe I don't know, PI for point of intersection, perhaps. I know it's hard to see. If you can kind of zoom in or pause it, it says PI there. Hit OK. Hit OK. And before we start clicking on our curves, there's something that I kind of discovered. It'll continue from the numbering. I'll show you here. You see how it goes PI4? You might want that PI1, and they're kind of complicated to reset, but I'll show you how to do it right now. So up, you should have this open. It's called Tool Space. If you don't have it open, go to your home. It's this guy here. Click on it. top left. You should also have a tab called Settings. Yours might not be there. And hit this gear looking thing here. That will open up that ribbon so that you can access your settings. So to reset your code, go to, you should have this is your drawing file name. Right click on it, edit table tag numbering, click on it, and just set these to 1. This is just where it will continue. It's kind of like coding where it would just say, add an integer, 1 plus 1 plus 1, etc. So that kind of just resets it. Okay, very good. So back open to the Annotate tab. If you've closed it, it's up here, right? That tag. We are going to now add our curve label PVI. Add them there. Hey, PI1, good, that's what we want. PI2, PI3, okay, not too bad. So next, we are going to add a table, kind of like what we did in the first video, or the second video, sorry. Get rid of that. So up in where it says add tables, we're going to go to alignment, add segment, and we are going to select our HRM alignment table. And then we're going to select by label or style. So what this is going to do, you could add like automatically select by like yeah, you see how there's like HRM curve label, HRM label PVI. You can do it that way, or you can select this green cube with the mouse. This is just going to prompt you to select the codes that you've created. Right? We don't need these middle tangents based off of what Paul is looking for here. So once you have those selected, hit enter and then hit OK. All right, so there's our table, or at least most of it. I'm going to show you how to edit this so that it looks more or less like what Paul was looking for. Like you see how the BOP has just station 0, but ours has like 2 stations. I'm going to show you how to get rid of the bottom stationing and northing and easting. And then I'm going to show you how to add northing and easting coordinates for your beginning of curve, end of curve, which is what he has, except actually, in my opinion, ours is probably better because it shows the deflection angle and it shows the stationing as like a whole curve in one row. But not to say that his is wrong either. They kind of show the same thing. Okay, so we are going to hit edit table style, right? It might pop open in information. So HRM have a bunch of styles and they kind of come with the drawing that Paul has given us. So in data properties, you see how there's kind of like an extra column to the right? That is this guy here. And since there's nothing populating it, it's just kind of useless. So we can just get rid of that. Hit apply, not okay, but hit apply to kind of make the changes and see if that's the way you want it to look. Okay, so next we're going to get rid of the stationing and the coordinates for the end of this BOP. So under where it says stationing, there's a row here. Double click on that so you can kind of see how there's 2 data entries, start stationing, end stationing. We're going to delete the start stationing. You can populate it with whatever you want. I'll show you how to do that when we get rid of, or when we add beginning of curve and end of curve coordinates. But for the meantime, get rid of the end stationing. And do the same thing for the northing. Get rid of that guy, hit OK. Same with the easting, get rid of that guy, hit OK. And hit apply. You see how that just got rid of those? Nice, that's what we want. So we didn't add the end of project code for this reason, because if we wanted the end of project, we just got rid of the coding in this automatic column that we want. So we kind of have to create like 2 tables. Kind of stupid, but it's just the way it works. So next we're going to change the northing and easting for our point of intersection rows here. So that would be the value curve. You see how it says PI northing? We don't want that, so get rid of that. We actually want, I think we want start northing. So that's going to be the start of the curve. And you have to hit this arrow if you want the coding to take place. If you don't, nothing will happen. So, okay, now we have the start northing. If you hit enter, that's going to kind of make a new line. And we also want the EC. You see how that's the end of curve? Okay, so now we want end northing. Hit that arrow again. Bam. Hit OK. So that's our northings column. Do the same thing for the eastings. Get rid of what was there. Now we want start easting. Hit that arrow. Select out of it. Hit enter. Now we want end easting. Hit the arrow. Hit OK. Hit apply. Bam. So that just did it for everything. You can kind of see how this is nice when you don't have to manually type in all of these coordinates in a table, right? Another thing, if you wanted to make a change to your alignment, guess what? All of that updates. And it can be very useful to take a little bit of extra time to set something up that will save you time further on down the road. That is a lot of what drafting is. And it's important to kind of understand. It's not crucial as an engineer, but it can be useful if you're checking a drawing, right? And you know if something updates automatically, and then it could lead to errors if something doesn't automatically update. So that's just kind of like a quality check if you get into municipal engineering, or maybe even structural engineering, perhaps. I don't know. So hit OK. All right, cool. So another thing that I want to do is I want to get rid of all of these table or like the blue lines. I kind of went through this before making this video, and I think it'll be probably a little bit easier to just turn these guys off. We probably could have done that in the same tab. It's the same edit the table style. These blue cyan, just turn them all off for now. Okay. All right, good. So another thing that I want to do is back here. Oh, sorry, no, my mistake. Table properties. I want to copy this current selection. We're going to make another. It's going to be almost identical, but this one's going to be for our end of project. So just call this one EOP. And we are going to edit this. So our end of project line, we want to change these values, and this is why we had to make another edit. Can't talk today. This is why we had to make another table style that's copied, because if we change this with our old one, then that's going to change everything else, and we don't want that. So we are going to edit this, and we're going to make that our end stationing. Okay. And then same thing with our northings. We want that to be our end northings. And then eastings, we want that to be our end eastings. Okay. And display, those are turned off. Let's see. How do I want to do that? Yeah. Leave these on for now. We're going to turn them off later, and I think it's because like if you turn the title text off, then you can't select your table. It is a little annoying, but I'll play around with it here just to make sure. So hit OK, and then hit OK again. Okay, so that just changed our table. We had to hit OK to accept the changes. However, change that back to the original one that we had. Okay, we only had to hit OK to accept the new style, but make sure that you've changed that back. I'm just going to reiterate that. Table properties, make sure that's the original one and not EOP. Okay. Okay. All right, so we're almost done with the table. Uh, we're going to now go back to our trusty annotate tag here. Same idea, alignment, single segment, except now we're going to have HRM bearing over distance, end of project. Hit add, select the very end tangent so that EOP populates. Very good. And now we're going to add, kind of like what we did for the first one, add a segment table. Now we have this nice EOP, right? We're going to select label by style, hit that green cube again, select the code that we just created, hit enter, hit OK. And now we have, lo and behold, kind of our tail end to the table, and you can see that now our stationing is exactly the end stationing instead of our beginning stationing, and that's why we did it that way. Okay, so that is true. So you see how there's like that grip, that blue cube. The problem is if we get rid of this next step here, which I'll show you, because I want to get rid of the road and the column or the row text, right? So if we do that, we get rid of it. Terrific. However, now we can't select it, and if you try to move it, oops, if you try to move it, it doesn't move either, which is stupid. However, it is what it is. We'll just move the top one to overtop it, or like to move. We're going to move the top table to go on top of it. The problem is some of these columns are not wide enough, and we are going to change. It's the station width of the column to manual and leave it at 10. All right. So that kind of shifted everything over. Just to reiterate that, it used to be automatic. That scoots it over to the left. We want that to be manual. Apply and scoot that over to the right. Okay. Next, let's move this guy right over top here. Try to line it up as best as you can. If it helps, turn off your snap. And then really just try to line up like the decimal place right there, right? So there's your table. Looks pretty fucking sexy. If you want, you could try to re-add the grid. I'll show you kind of like what I mean, why I got rid of those. So if you were to add those back, you see how that kind of like goes right through the bottom? Kind of stupid. You could add that. That probably looks pretty good. How about your title separator? Hey, yeah, chuck those on. But then, you know, if you have your data dividers, well, you could do it that way. Well, let's see how this looks. Okay, we did that, and now let's see what the bottom one is. Data divider, perhaps? No. Data separator? No. Header? No. Okay. Maybe overall border? Yeah, you see how that kind of looks really dumb. Just playing around with it. Oh, there we go. Okay, so it was the header separator. Bam. Chuck that in there. That looks actually really good. Okay, so that's the complicated way to do a table. And how long did that take, guys? Took about 20 minutes. Pretty long. But if you decide to make your table longer, you see how that just updated. If you decide to, I don't know, make your radius fucking really short, right? Let's put a really small radius. Updated. And that's how it saves you a bunch of time if you're willing to set this up. Okay. So the other way to make your table, which is manually entering stuff, but you're going to need, let's see, pretty much replicate this, right? You're going to need your stationing, you're going to need your northing and easting, and oh wait, he does have your PI. Why would you do it that way, Paul? That's silly. Like, you guys see what I mean? Like, there's a point of intersection area as well as that there. Huh. That kind of changes things, doesn't it, guys? Okay. All right. So I'm going to go over something real quick. If you want to add that back, we actually deleted that information. But if Mr. Paul wants that added, let's give it to him. Same area, except now we're going to do this. We're going to add a line called PVI space. Yeah. And then you might have guessed it. Or no, wait, not PVI, sorry. Point of intersection. And we're going to do, did he want stationing? No, he didn't, did he? I think he just wanted the coordinates. Okay, so if he just wants the coordinates, then we'll go to our northing and easting area for our curve. Say PI. Yeah, I don't know, that's silly. It's kind of overkill, but we'll give it to him. PI northing. Hit OK, hit apply. You see how that just added that in? You'll have to move your table now. Same idea. Ooh, like this one. PI easting. Hit OK. Okay. Sorry, guys. But you can kind of see how that, yeah, that really kind of fucks everything up, doesn't it? Oh my. Okay, well, I guess this is why it's the complicated version. You might have to adjust this width, so I don't know. Maybe it's this one here. Okay, that only shifted. Maybe let's try 15. How far away? How far does that go? Probably a bit too far. Let's try 13. Yeah, that's probably good enough. Okay. Sorry for doing that. A little extra time, but silly, right? Like you have everything else. Anywho, so that's the automatic version. Let's do the kind of the long way, or the more manually entered way. So you're going to need, I believe, if you go to your edit alignment geometry, I think there's a table here, and this is a good area where you can find a bunch of your stationings for your curve, right? So that's your beginning station of your curve. So beginning a curve, end a curve, beginning a curve, end a curve. But what we're going to do is we're going to add a label, geometry points. I think it is perpendicular with tick and line. Sure. Hit add. It's going to prompt you a bunch of stuff. Unselect most of that, and then anything with a curve, you can add. So add. All right. Hit OK. Hit apply. You see how that just added a bunch of labels. So now you have beginning a curve, midpoint, and a curve. And what you can do is you can use that command to find out what your coordinates are there. Someone showed me it when we were studying before the test, but I forget. Or you can do, what I like to do is just add a point right on it. So I won't do all of them, but you hit OK, right? What's your point? BC1, I think. Bam. There's your point, right? From there, you can get your easting and northing. But then, right, you can see how this kind of could take a little bit of time. You're going to have to copy all those numbers into a manual spreadsheet perhaps, or a manual table in AutoCAD. And you're going to have to do that for each curve, and you're going to have to do that for the beginning of project and end of project. I'm not going to do that just because it will maybe take me a little bit more time. But kind of follow that process to do your table manually, which if you find that that is easier for you, then it might be easier if you don't plan to move anything. That still pisses me off about the point of intersection coordinates that he needs. I wonder if maybe I should have chucked that in maybe another column. Whatever. I might do it on my project. You could probably, if you wanted to edit your style again, you know how we deleted that column? Maybe we want to add that column for our curve, and then you could do it that way, right? You could call it PI northing, and then it could be for your curve area, right? PI northing, populate it, and then we could do the same thing, PI easting. That might look a little bit better if you want. But again, it's all preference if you want. You see how that just added that there? Yeah, you know what? That does look pretty good. That does look pretty good. But now you can see that this line doesn't extend all the way. So then you'd have to change that, right? It's just a lot of ways to get fucking pissed off in this program. It's up to you. Maybe you like having the 3 columns or the 3 data entries, right? But then, now we'll have to change this style. Oh, wait, what? You see how that grip is now there? Oh, what the fuck? Okay. Whatever you say. So now we're going to have to do, add that in too, right? Which will extend that, but we might have to add that manually so that that line extends out. I don't even know if that's far enough. That might be too far. Maybe we'll put that at like 5. Who the fuck knows? Okay, not enough. 7. Good enough for me. Move it up. But you see how now that's all fucked. I'm not going to go over that, but again, that might be a little bit easier for you, right? Might look better. Okay, so that's table fun. That only took 30 fucking minutes, but here we are. Okay, what is next on the list? So we have finished grade labels. I'm not going to need this anymore, so if you don't need that, there we go, and that's gone. Okay, so we also have to do finished grade labels on our parking lot here. As well as coordinate points, eh? You gotta do both, I think. It's a lot, isn't it? We'll look at one of his, that doesn't even have, is that his site plan? Jeez, I don't know. Sorry, I'm just looking through his thing here. Okay, so your site plan needs to have the alignment, that table, parking lot with dimensions, and coordinates for the parking lot corners. And that must be it. So I don't know if you have to do finished grade uh, like elevation points. I'll show you how to do it in case you'd like to include it. Just be weary if you include them to label them and say, hey, this is the finished grade. So back in our label tab here, we're going to go to surface and we are going to do spot elevation and select HRM meter and we're going to do HRM marker. Hit add, and down here it's going to ask you if you can like click and select a surface, but hit enter because we need to select our finished grade surface, right? So hit OK. Now it's going to ask you for a point, and it might be useful to turn your snap off for this guy and just kind of like place your point over the corners, and it just kind of tells you, like if you were to select your feature line, which I think is in the back here, so I'll show you if that's your feature line, right? What did we say it was? 52.37? Well, that's what this elevation text shows you. If we were to raise that feature line and our surface would rebuild automatically, right? So if you chuck rebuild automatic, hit that, raise your feature line, let's say 52.5. See how that just changed, as well as the grading. It's just one of those tricks, right? If you can set stuff up that updates automatically, it will save you time. Okay, so that is kind of how you add finished grades. You can also add PI intersections to your feature line if you wanted to. Like say maybe you're struggling with getting that cut and fill, you could add another elevation point here, right? You see how, did that add it? No, it didn't, did it? So hit there. It says down at the bottom, specify an elevation. Maybe we want that, I'll exaggerate it and say 50, right? Bam. Now there's an extra grip that we can use to kind of contort our parking lot. And that can kind of optimize your finished grade as well as your, your surfaces and your volumes. Okay, so that's finished grade. Next, I'm going to go over points and how to kind of do that real quick. I'm just going to, for the simplicity of it, turn our contours off. Snow display. That also gets rid of the contour lines, by the way. And okay, so if we wanted to, we could add, this is what we're doing, right? We can add property boundary corners. Ooh, Paul, that's not good sig figs right there. 0.1970. Tisk. And as well as parking lot corners. He wants the northing and easting for that. So it is essentially make points, right? Manual. You could, yeah, honestly, manual is probably the easiest way. So it's pretty much just click and place, around the parking lot. This one might be useful to put your snaps on. Remember, F3 is your snaps on, snaps off for quick access. Okay, so we'll call the parking lot points, like maybe we'll just call them 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, bam. What's the description? Well, we'll call that one elevation irrelevant, and just kind of work your way around. All right. Very good. Okay. Make sure you kind of have your properties thing open because it can be very useful. Remember how we brought in all those points from the survey? And then we were saying, hey, create a point group with them. Now that we'll have to kind of create a point group a little bit differently and we're going to have to do it by a point number range. So our last point that we created for our parking lot was 193, and then subtract 4. This should be 180 or 190. Okay, I can't math. So our range for our point group is going to be from 190 to 193. Right, so let's do that. Let's create a new point group. This one is going to be caps lock parking lot points. All right, we're going to include, except normally we do like a raw description. Now we're going to do numbers, and it's going to be 190 to 193. Hit apply. Terrific. Okay, so that added that. You could actually include your finished grade elevation to that point if you wanted to. So I think what Paul has on his example is just like the number or the letter. You could use lettering too. It doesn't really matter. So let's select those 4 points that we've created, and you can edit the style from what they look like as well as what they are labeled. I think we just want description, which should just be that point. So if you labeled them A, B, C, D, E, F to the whatever, then that's what it would show up as. And that's what we're going to do for the property boundary, right? So that's our point group for our parking lot points. And next, we're going to do the exact same thing around our property boundary. I'm not going to do the whole thing just because it's kind of cumbersome, right? All right, so that's just added a little point there. And just kind of make your way downtown. You know, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, I fucked that up. I probably should have been calling them different things, not just fucking going on autopilot here. Yeah, so call it A, right? Next one, call that B. Right? Yeah, Brett. Makes sense. Okay, that one wasn't quite on the corner, but I'm not gonna bother with that. D. Right? What's this one? Hey, let's call it E. Sweet. So I'm not going to do the whole thing. If you're wondering about the curve, maybe just get like right here, right there, right there. Kind of like where these grips are. I would probably put points maybe in the middle too. I don't know. The example that Paul has doesn't have curved property lines. So it's up to you how many points you want to put. Okay. So it's the same process to make our point group, right? So that's point number 194, and then your last one is probably going to be like around here, and you're going to have more points than what I have, right? But this one is 198. So same process, new. This one's going to be called boundary. Caps lock always on. And shit, I have a really poor memory. What was it? Oh, you can this is good for people with poor memories. You can also select in your drawing the range, right? So it's kind of like when we were selecting those codes. You can select the very first point. 194, now I remember, to 198. Sweet. Can't even blame the time on this because it's, pretty early in the morning. So, okay? All right, well, there's our points around the property boundary. Let's kind of change that to the styles that our parking lot follow. HRM point, description only, which is just what we want there. Terrific. So, kind of like what we did with the alignment table, we could, go to each point, look at the grid for the easting and northing, chuck that in a table. There might be a bit of an easier way for you, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So not only can you import points, but you can export points too, based off your point group. So I will show you an example for the parking lot. Let's do it. Export points. Format. How do we want this to look? So I'm just going to escape out of here so we can see how Paul's format is. So we want the point description, we want the northing, or the easting and the northing. Okay, export points. So P, I think, let's see. Oh, okay, yeah, so our description is actually going to be last. So we want it to be, let's see, northing, easting, which one's, yeah, so he wants it easting, northing, but whatever. As long as you label it, I'm sure it'll be okay. And just make sure you have, oh, excuse me, make sure you have, oh wait, are we going to do, what are we going to do it in? We want it as a CSV file. It's a nice spreadsheet file, okay? We'll do that after. Okay, but first, we'll do it, let's say, this is kind of what we've been doing. So it's going to be the point number, the northing, which is your y coordinate, your easting, which is your x coordinate, your z, which is your elevation, and your d, which is your description. And your description is the one that you want. So hit okay. That's weird. Oh, okay, so don't click that, sorry. We'll do, yeah, we'll do space delimited, I guess. Destination file. Make it a CSV. And call this, I don't know, what was it, parking lot? I'll just save it to my desktop. Okay, so that's where it's going to go. Just make sure you kind of clue in where you're saving it. And limit it to the point groups. Yep. Hit OK. Sweet. So let's see what we just created here. Right, there it is. Nice. And look at that. Oh, fuck. That's not what we want. A little bit of trial and error here. There must be a different, I think it might, is it analyze? No. I think it might be a spot called export. Output. Hang on a sec, I'm just going to pause the recording. Okay, I'm back. That didn't take me very long. Okay, so we had it pretty much correct, except you might have noticed that a CSV file in Excel, that actually stands for comma separated variables. And we did space, so you want comma delimited selected, okay? So that's what CSV stands for. And I'm just going to overwrite that. Hit OK. Yep. Wicked. And now let's open her up. Now you can see how that's nice and broken up. So this is essentially what you want. You don't really need these. Those are your elevations, and you don't really need your point number per se. And you might have to manipulate this. Let's just expand that open. There you go. And that's kind of how you can. That's kind of how you can quickly do that instead of entering all of that manually. So that's your point ID. I don't know. I think that might be, what did we say? Northing, easting, and then just chuck that in your report, or your. I think you might actually want it on your drawing. So yeah, that's kind of how you do it with not only your parking lot, but also your corners. Same process, right, with the boundary. I'm not going to go over it. Okay, this video is getting pretty long, 45 minutes. I'm going to go over just very, very briefly some quick tips and tricks for your drawings down here that might make you happy. So let's go to the site plan. One thing that you should always have on every drawing that you ever do is, oh yeah, yellow, gross, is a north arrow up here. Come on. So maybe select your viewport. It's going to be fucking small. Zoom in. See how your north arrow is like pointed to the right. You can make that however big you want, but keep it reasonable. Move it to the top right corner. And then what you should probably do is explode it. North arrows and scale bars on drawings are very, very prone to glitching out your AutoCAD and causing errors and maybe even crashes. So just try to explode it when you can, but that should orient nice for you. Likewise, there's also a nice spot with your scale bar. It's always important to have a scale. So yeah, it's a 1 to 500 scale. Is it? I thought it was 1 to 1,000. No? Okay, 1 to 500. So do that. You know, select your viewport. It's going to ask you kind of how you want to divide it. You could do 10. You could do 15. 15 is pretty good, you know, and it'll just put in a scale bar down at the bottom. So you could also explode your scale bar. If you explode it though, it kind of fucks everything up. So undo that. The command to keep it exploded, but like keep it formatted the way it is called burst, B-U-R-S-T. And it does that. It does the same thing, except now there's no like coded values. So that's that trick. Let's see what else here. Oh, I'll show you. I think we have plot. Like there's certain plot styles. By plot, I mean print. And there should be DAL plot style up here. Now, if yours is in color and you're noticing like, oh, hang on, why is Brett's like black and white already? You can get yours to be set up that way too. Page Setup Manager, and modify whatever layout tab you have. And this little box here, display your plot style. If you uncheck that, then hey, it's in color. And to change that, Page Setup Manager, modify there. And that just kind of shows you how your thing is going to look when you print it. So you can see like I have green lines. Those are going to print in green. And Paul might not like that. So you might need to adjust your coloring if that's the case, right? So to do that, go to your properties. You might just have to put it by layer. That's still blue. Regen? No? Okay. Well, we'll have to play around with that. Anything else? Anything else? To annotate stuff, I think I've already shown you how to do that. You could annotate in your drawing. I personally like doing it outside, like in your paper space. You could do it like that. You see how, like, if I select inside, or if I go to model space, that dimension no longer is there. That's just the way I prefer things. If you do it the other way, you know, you click inside your viewport, you dimension it in there, then it's going to show up there, and it'll show up on the rest of your plans too. So just something to consider. That might be it, friends. You could do a legend, but just label everything. That's probably it for all he wants. Your cross section. Oops. I'll show you maybe a cool trick to do your cross section here. We'll set that to 1 to 500. Yeah, it's a good scale. It's not bad. If you wanted to maybe chuck some grade elevate or grade labels on here, you could just by going to edit labels. Make sure you're selecting your finished grade, by the way. You should probably label that too, just to really nail it home. But edit labels, there's going to be a thing called lines, HRM proposed lines. Hit add, hit apply, and now that will show you some automatic lines, right? And that could earn you some extra points. I don't think he's expecting that, but you can also notice you're like, hey, it's 50%. That's a 2-to-1 slope. Very good. So that's where I'm going to leave you guys. This is kind of more advanced stuff if you have the time to do it. I hope these videos were helpful. I'm going to be in the library on Sunday. I don't know about a time yet, but probably procrastinate studying for water quality. Or maybe I'll study some water quality there. We'll see. But I will answer any kind of problems or any kind of questions that you guys might have, and try to get you guys all ready for submission. Your cost estimate is on your own. Your report is on your own. And that should be it. So, yeah, see ya.